Kenneth Walker is my first guy up here as far as my breakthrough player. Kenneth Walker is a guy who's got his share of injuries. I get it. I understand it. I know last year was not the best year of his 3-year run here. He only averaged 3.7 yards per carry. And that, that is what it is with it. It's hard not to, look at that and go, okay, well, maybe it's just never going to quite crack through with him. So the thing to consider first off is the injury. I can't speak to that. We don't know if that's going to hold it up or not. I'm definitely taking into account here that going into a contract year, if he's on the edge of, having injuries, he's going to fight through it as he can. But the stat I wanted to show, Brazil posted up by Brett Coleman last year on this stat, and I thought that this was one of the more eye-opening stats of last year and an absolute representation of how hard the treading has been there for the Seahawks running backs to find holes and to find daylight anywhere. The Philadelphia Eagles on A and B gap runs. So let's keep in mind, these are not outside zone runs that can sometimes lend themselves well to having some penetration. Your lineman can't quite get to a reach block. The defensive tackle gets in the backfield and your play's cooked. Negative play. When you're running in the A and the B gap, those are power runs. Those are runs coming downhill. Those are runs that are very hard for defenses to get penetration, to get early contact on the back. They should be kind of runs that lend themselves well to the backs, at least getting the 3 yards in a cloud of dust kind of situation popping up. But what do you see last year from the Seattle Seahawks and that offensive line and that awful play calling and grub and all of that? 32nd in the NFL, 32nd, 0.6 yards your running backs were being hit after being given the ball. 0.6 yards past the line of scrimmage, they're hit on average. The Eagles led the league at first with a 2.7 yards. So they got almost 3 yards past the line of scrimmage before Saquon Barkley was being hit. That's a huge difference. That's not just a small little gulf. That isn't just a little bit of a excuse. This is an absolute explanation. And this is what Walker and Charbonnet have been dealing with here throughout their time over the past couple of years. Walker probably got his best run blocking in year one here to go do what he did. And we saw what he did with that. He busted off some big runs and had a really great rookie year. But he's not had the same kind of run blocking. He's not had the same kind of play calling. And this is where he can only do as much as what he's got in front of him to help him out. And the help here is going to be better than ever. I think that the offensive line is going to be the best offensive line he's had here in his 3 years. The play calling is going to be the best play calling in the past 3 years. The defense is going to be the best defense in the past 3 years for him. Add on, I think the special teams is going to be solid too, and he's going to get a share of opportunities. You shouldn't be playing from behind a lot. You shouldn't be having to bail off the run to throw 24/7 a ton of games here. We should see more games a little bit more closely together, allowing you to be able to consistently stay with the running. And it's as much as that, sticking with the run, not as much penetration. And then the third part of this, the part that gets me really excited with Kenneth Walker, is going to be the use to the outside. This was a stat that I showed last year that was another one of those eye-opening stats from last year through the first 2 years of Walker's career. When you look at his runs between the tackles in his first 2 years, what he gained yard per carry average on runs between the tackles, A and B gap kind of runs, he averaged 3.8 yards per carry through his first 2 seasons. Outside runs or outside zone pitch plays, he averaged 5.3 yards per carry coming into last year on those kind of runs. The kicker here was, though, under Coach Carroll, you were running so much of that stuff predominantly inside. So if I told you that he had a ratio of 65% of one of these 2 runs that he ran towards, what do you think Coach Carroll had him running towards? What do you think Waldron had him running towards? 65% of the time of those 2 numbers, either 3.8 or 5.3, which do you think it was? Yeah, that's right, the 3.8 number. So 65% of his carries between the tackles, averaging 3.8 yards per carry. And then you've got the 35% on outside runs where he's averaging 5.3. And what is Clint Kubiak going to do? Bringing in the outside zone to great effect here. So outside zone now means he's going to get outside those tackles. He's going to get the opportunities to let his legs cut it loose. And he's going to get more of a chance there to bust off more of these bigger runs. He's not an inside runner. He's not an A-B gap runner. That's the whole point of having a Charbonnet, for instance, is that you can let him be the hammer. Let Walker get out there. And I know you can't just run it outside with Walker every time and then run it inside with Charbonnet because that'd be predictable and that's how it goes. But at the same point in time, 65% of Walker's runs were to the inside. That's kind of going the other way with that on that ratio rather than flipping it that way. So that part's going to be mightily improved. This blocking scheme and what you're looking to do with it is going to be very beneficial to Walker. He ran some zone stuff out there at Michigan State and did it to a really great degree. And then there's the final factor that I think is going to help him break through, one that I've talked about a couple of different times, which is that he's going to get a little bit of the thinking taken out of this for good measure, not in a bad measure, not in a bad way, but he's going to have some of the thinking and the freelancing that he's done in this first couple of years taken off the table. Because what Kubiak is going to tell him is he's going to tell him there's an outside zone run. I need you to press that outside. I need you to get there. And once you get to the spot, then I will allow you some creativity. But a lot of the zone-centric scheme in the run game is telling the running back that you're going to go to this place I'm telling you to go. I don't want you getting the handoff and looking around and how can I cut this back? How can I bounce this outside? I want you to go to the premeditated hole and get to it as fast as you possibly can. And then once you're through the hole, now you can do all of your dancing. Now you can jump, cut. Now you can spin. Now you can do all the cool stuff. But you've got to first get to that hole because we want to ensure over and over again that we're getting positive plays here. And that's what you're doing a lot of times by asking the running back to be a little bit robotic there, is don't do the stop and juke and, oh, now we have penetration and you're tackled in the backfield. No, get to the spot. Make sure we're getting the 1, 2, 3 yard gain because you want positive plays on this offense over and over again. And I think taking some of that freelancing out, it's a great skill he has, don't get me wrong, but he also could sometimes lean on it a little bit too much. And I think it was also that he leaned on it too much because he was getting too much penetration and too many hits and guys just racking him over and over again. So he just felt like every time he got the carry, there was going to be penetration. There's going to be somebody that I'm going to have to get around from this tackle and get out of that. I think I also have a lot more faith in that the health is going to hold up with Walker when he's not taking so many of these extra hits. I talked about 65% of his runs were inside between those tackle boxes. Those are the brutal runs. Those are the runs that hurt the most. Running backs will tell you, it's not the hit that I take in the open field that I can see coming. It's when I'm going through the A and the B gap and guys are hitting me on the side and I can't see the hit coming. And I can sometimes just get waylaid, not expecting it. And those are exactly the type of runs that Walker's had to deal with. Say nothing of getting hit right after you get the carry, which again, there's been some brutal hits on Walker's through the couple years at times, just like this, where it's just block gets blown. He's standing there dead to rights and boom, just gets blown up a little bit. So I think that the health will hold up a little bit better as well by the nature of some of these runs and how you're going to utilize them in that fashion. But I think he breaks through this year. I think you're looking at a 1,400-yard year. I think he's going to be a very highly graded guy with PFF. He always has been, by the way. I think he was technically last year one of our highest graded, even at 3.7 yards per carry, the highest graded players by PFF. They look at his game. They like a lot of what he's done. He's broken so many tackles through his young portion of his career here. It just seems like, to me, a matter of time with him. The health's got to hold up, but now all of these other factors that have been big question marks / negatives now get taken off the board. And I think he's really going to benefit then from that. And he's going into a contract year. So you're going to get the healthiest, hungriest, or healthiest, but the hungriest version of Ken Walker that you could ask for